Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start our EDUCA DPS podcast, and today the topic is around school choice and the changes you need to be aware of for the new school year, which is 2026-2027. We want to give thanks to our sponsors, VS America, the suppliers of Agile Furniture for Schools, and the furniture here on our set. Together, we are creating future-ready learning environments where comfort, choice, and engagement drive every student's success. We also want to give a huge shout out to Delta High School for providing me with this gear. Ready for takeoff? In 3, 2, 1. Hello, friends and families. Welcome to the EDUCA DPS podcast. My name is Javier Ibarra, and today in the studio, we have Nicole Davis, Manager of Enrollment Services for Denver Public Schools. Today, our conversation will be about understanding school choice, the enrollment process, and updating you on any changes that you need to know for the next school year, which will be 2026-27. Nicole, welcome to the EDUCA DPS podcast. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm well. Thank you for having us.
For our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about your journey here at DPS? What do you do for DPS?
Sure. I started with DPS about 15 years ago. At that time, we were just, the district was just starting school choice. And so I've been around for a lot of the innovative work.
School choice hasn't always been around?
It hasn't always been around. There used to be a process where there were multiple applications that families would just apply with schools. There were over 80-something deadlines. And so we're excited about how our school choice process has evolved.
That it's streamlined.
Yes.
What else have you been involved with?
Basically, a lot of innovative work around growth of enrollment and communication to families and stakeholders. I'm responsible for training of our front office staff at schools around our school choice processes and enrollment, and so I enjoy doing that work. I work closely with the communications department, and so, yeah.
You have a very important role here in our district because if you think about it, when I think of branding, when I think of communications and marketing, right, school choice is really the first pieces of marketing, branding, communications that our families or potential families see. And so that it's essentially the first touch point, right? You are the first. For sure. We are, and we train our staff that way, that like we're the first point of contact. Schools may not have conversations or touches with schools for a few days after contacting someone from our district. And so I like to think of us as maybe not the face, but a primary face of Denver Public Schools. Absolutely. Well, for our audience members, I want to give you a little bit about the topic before we start into our questions here with Nicole. And so Denver Public Schools, as you know, offers a very robust school choice system because not every school is the same, right? Different programming. That allows families to explore, rank schools across our entire district, and through an open enrollment process, which promotes equity, parents can select programs that fit their child's learning needs. Also diverse options and stronger alignment between students, schools, and community priorities each and every year. So to start us off, Nicole, can you tell us the topic of the day? What is school choice?
So school choice is our enrollment process here at Denver Public Schools. We have processes in place. We have policy in place that allows for an equitable process and gives families access to schools across the district. As I mentioned earlier, it used to be a pretty robust process, and now we have one application that sits online with one deadline, which of course this year is January the 20th.
Which is important to note, right? This is kind of something that we'll get into a little bit later, but normally I feel like the application deadline is mid-February, and this year it's a little earlier.
It is. That is one of the changes this year are the dates around school choice. So we started earlier. Instead of school choice being open for 4 weeks, this year it will be 6 weeks. We wanted to allow for that 2-week time that
schools and students are on holiday breaks, and a lot of our well-deserved staff, right, deserve that time off as well. And so we have extended the time to 6 weeks.
Around school choice, who needs to participate? Who is the prime audience here for the application, for all the research that's about to go under? Who is the prime audience?
Our transitioning students, right? So those are our ECE 3, ECE 4, which are our preschool students coming into DPS. Our kindergartners, kinder students need to participate. Our students going into middle school, they're going into 6th grade. High schoolers going into 9th grade. Those are what we call our transitioning students, and all of those students need to apply. Any family that wants to make a different choice for the 26-27 school year should participate, and any families that don't live in the district should also. This is their time to participate as well.
For the families that are not in a transition year but are looking for a different option, what would some of the options there be? Why would they be looking for a transition when they're not in a transition year?
Right. Primarily, it's going to be programming, school programming, the educational opportunities that they're looking for their families. But sometimes it works for the family if the student is attending a school closer to the workplace or things of that nature. But primarily we see it school programming. Sports is another one, extracurricular activities. So those would be some reasons that a student maybe transitioning from 7th to 8th might participate.
I often tell families that they should always keep their options open and look at the programming, look at the school, look at if you have a feeling, you know how that gut feeling, you're like, this is my home. I often tell families that because as I've come to understand DPS and its complexity, I know that it's very different than when I was a student here at DPS, right? For the most part, I only went to my neighborhood school. And whatever programming that they had, whatever feeling that they had, and I'm very proud of where I went because I'm very proud of my neighborhoods. But I think that, you know, for example, if I was interested in STEAM and there's a STEAM academy or a school that focuses on that, and that's the pathway that I want to go down, I think that it's very important for our families to know that, to understand that you have options.
Right, and this is the time when families want to be researching, research, and we have a fabulous tool called the School Finder in which families can visit. They can enter their address to search for schools. They can enter the name of the school that they're interested in, but also their interest. If they're interested in programs like dual language, STEAM, as you mentioned, is there a sports program, after and before school program. So this is the time when families should be using our School Finder, and they can access the school websites there. So visiting the websites and seeing when they're having tours or school choice nights and things of that nature. But this is the time for families to really get out there and start looking and evaluating the educational programs that they're interested in.
Well, that's another thing that I didn't know, is that schools often host school previews or open houses depending on the school for the choice windows, right? And we happen to be in one right now, and so that leads me to my next question, which is, what are some of the new updates along with the date, and remind us of those dates, but what are some of the new updates into the school choice enrollment process?
Right. Well, I want to let families know that there are no changes to the school choice process itself.
No changes.
No changes to the system, right? We do have some new enrollment zones in DPS, and so again, that's where research comes in handy, right? We have some new GT programs that will be available at a few of our schools, so families should definitely research. But when it comes to the actual process of school choice, nothing there has changed.
I have a side question for you. What is an enrollment zone?
Okay, let's talk about that, because that's really, really important. Students that live in an enrollment zone and are in a transition grade need to participate in school choice. It's different than a boundary, right? So if I give my address and I have a boundary school, I have a guaranteed seat at that school.
Guaranteed seat.
Guaranteed seat. At a boundary school, that's a large geographical area that has multiple schools within that zone that share the responsibility of educating the students within that zone. So families need to let us know, hey, if we have 3 options in this zone, what are your choices? And then they need to rank those choices, right? And then when we run the algorithm, the student is guaranteed a seat at one of those schools. So it's really important that those students participate.
And the key here is to participate early, and so that you can get your pick of the school. Can you give me an example of what an enrollment zone looks like? Like, what is an enrollment zone at DPS? Is it in the far northeast? Is it in the southwest? Where's one enrollment zone? Just to give our audience an example.
And we have many enrollment zones, but I'll tell you the first 2 enrollment zones in the district are out in the far northeast. The high school zone and the middle school zone. So if you live in the far northeast in the Montbello Green Valley Ranch area, you're automatically in a zone, right? So in our middle school zone, for instance, we have charter schools, we have traditional schools, we have schools that have early college access to education at our early colleges and things of that nature. So that's the difference in an actual enrollment zone.
Very interesting things, and these are all things that I'm sure our families are wanting to know about the school choice process. So I'm really happy that you're here to answer these questions. I want to ask, very important, if I have a student who choiced into a school, let's pick a random school, let's say they choiced into Thomas Jefferson High School.
Okay.
Do they have to fill out an application every single year?
They do not.
Okay.
Once you have a seat at a school, you'll continue at that school until the last grade at that school. I do want to preference ECE because ECE students need to submit an application for both EC3 and EC4 grades. But once you're enrolled in a school, once you're in 2nd grade, you continue to 3rd, 4th, and 5th in that elementary school. I can say that we have some K through 8s where maybe that 5th grader going to 6th grade may not actually need an application, or that's how a family may look at it, because that student will automatically roll to 6th grade. But any student that needs an application and needs to participate in round 1 of school choice has been communicated with. So I really want to reiterate that they've been communicated with, and we will continue to reach out to those families to remind them of the open window and make sure that they participate.
This is a great opportunity to remind our DPS community that we have just released or rolled out this year what's called our Thrill Share platform, which allows us to communicate with our families in a more streamlined way. And so if you're not receiving these communications, please reach out to your school to make sure that you're receiving these communications and the text messages so that you are informed and in the know. Nicole, my next question for you is the question, I would say, of the entire podcast. Where can families go to apply? Where is this magical application for school choice?
So it's an online application that they can access on our website at schoolchoice.dpsk12.org. They can also call our choice hotline at 720-423-3493. Our reps are waiting and are willing to assist families in completing and submitting their applications. We also have 2 enrollment centers, one in the far northeast at the Evie Dennis campus at 4800 Telluride Street. And then we have an enrollment center at CMS Community School in the southwest at 1300 South Lowell Boulevard.
Impressive. You literally just answered my next 4 questions, so thank you for that.
Well, I do have one question I would like to go back to.
Absolutely, yes.
About round 1 and how it works.
Okay.
Right?
Let's break it down for our audience.
Because in round 1, there's no first come, first choice. So we're encouraging families to participate to make sure they have that prime opportunity of possibly getting a school that they're really, really interested in. But there's no first come, first serve. Any student that does doesn't get their first choice will be placed on a wait list.
Okay.
And they're put on that wait list according to their school priority and lottery number. And when we're talking priorities, we're talking about students that are already currently attending the school, students that may have a incoming sibling that wants to attend the school. And then, so I just want to make sure that families understand we're running all of those applications in round one together.
Fantastic. So round one is everyone applies, and then based on an algorithm, some sort of computer,
Yes.
I'm assuming AI, everything is AI these days.
An algorithm way more intelligent than myself.
Yes.
I guarantee you.
It places you in your schools, and if you don't get placed, there's still hope because you
Yes.
still get placed on the wait list. It's a good time to remind our families that most of our students get their top pick of school, if not top two.
Yes. We
So-
have a really good percentage of first or second choice.
And so that's round one.
Yes.
Round two, very different. That is a first come, first serve.
Yes, yes, exactly. And then, so we do take into account the date and time of the application, but students are still put on wait list according to their priorities. And then there's a lot of movement through the summer. And then once round two opens, schools will begin to work their wait list. And so families, if they don't get their first choice in round one, don't be of a faint heart. There'll be a lot of movement in summer, and the opportunity could still arrive for them.
And you mentioned this, but just again, what happens if families don't have access to a computer, or they need more support, or maybe they need support but in other language that's not English? Do we have that in place?
Definitely families should call our hotline. If a family needs assistance in another language, we can work with our multilingual line that we have access to assist families in languages that are comfortable for them. But definitely our choice hotline and our enrollment centers are available for even that in-person, up-close attentiveness.
Fantastic. So I just want to ask, last question of the podcast, is there anything else that we need to go back to that you think we need to either mention again, or you thought, hey, we didn't talk about this?
Right. Well, I do want to make sure that families know that round one of school choice closes at 4 p.m. on January 20th. Please don't wait till the last moment. We've had times when families have waited and they're having trouble on their end, not necessarily our system, but trouble on their end. And when the application is closed at 4, it's closed. We go into what I call that dark time of when we're processing data, making sure student addresses and grades are correct. And then we hope to release results by the end of February. And then round 2 will open at 10 a.m. on March 10th.
When you said a dark time, I pictured all of you sitting in a room and the lights are low and you're just like processing applications.
It's almost like that, but the lights are on.
The last thing I want to say about school choice is I think it's probably a good idea that it wasn't around when I was a student, and I'll tell you why. Because I would have picked a school based on the mascot.
Okay.
So if the mascot looked like an animal or something pretty cool, that would have been the way that I picked a school. And knowing me, I'd probably pick a school 10 miles away.
Yeah. It's interesting because families do sometimes call and say, hey, I would like a seat at the Raptor School. And I think it's DSST in Green Valley Ranch.
Yes.
But so they keep us on our toes for sure.
Right.
For sure.
It's like I want to go where the Vikings are,
Yes.
or where the Angels are.
Or hopefully the Patriots.
Yes, that's right. Are you a GW Patriot?
Yes.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
GW alum, so
right on.
Had to get that in there.
Yes, we had to sneak that in.
Yes.
Yes, small shout out. Well, Nicole, I want to thank you for your time and this very precious information for our families, because I think school choice can be daunting, but I'm glad that we have a podcast to explain this. So thank you for coming on the show today.
Yes, and thank you for inviting us.
Right on. Well, friends and families, this concludes our EDUCA DPS podcast for today. I want to thank our communications department, and I want to thank our superintendent, Dr. Alex Marrero, for his consistent support of all of our multimedia productions. If you found this interesting, or you know that someone might, Please make sure that you share this content with your friends, with your family, and you can find all of our EDUCAs under one platform, which is the DPS Podcast Network, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Denver Public Schools Plus. Don't forget to tell your children more often, I believe in you and I know you can do it. My name is Javier Ibarra. Until next time.